Hey guys, how's everyone doing? How is the lockdown dealing with you? And how are you coping with all the challenges coming up with it? Before I go into the topic of today, which is marriage, let me quickly remind you all that that governments around the world are, relaxing the lockdown and all of that does not necessarily mean that coronavirus has gone. Coronavirus is still, 100% with us here. And if you don't follow the guidelines of social distancing or physical distancing as you would like, um, and, you know, covering yourself properly, then you might also become one of the statistics that'll be popping up soonest. In fact, from 2 weeks, in the next 2 weeks, especially in Nigeria, we are going to be seeing a lot of cases. And that brings me, completely, straight to the topic of today, marriage. I decided to talk about marriage today. I can't see anyone who is coming on. If you come on, just let me know. Say hi, drop drop emoji, drop a shout out or anything. um so my topic today, what I want to talk about today, I'm moving a little bit away from business today, because if you don't get this right as a woman, in fact even as a man, it might also affect your career or your business or your profession, whatever you like to call it. So it's important that we talk about these social factors as well, regardless of where you are, regardless of your gender, religion, and all that. So most of the challenges in marriage are the same thing. So I wanted to talk about this because so many people in marriage, or I would say in quote marriage, are not actually in marriage, because what majority of us think is marriage is actually not what marriage is. And I need to also make them know, quickly say that wedding is not marriage. Wedding is a ceremony. Wedding is a solemnization of marriage. So what is marriage then? Marriage is a union, an agreement, of two consenting people who decide to spend the rest of their life together. Until you are ready to commit to that, then you're not in marriage. If you, about so many weeks and times and different times, I speak with different people, and oftentimes I get the idea that so many women or the society excuse mostly men who cheat in their marriage, who have extramarital affairs in their marriage, who commit adultery and all those kind of, especially sexually cheating in their marriage. And I wonder why. Sometimes I ask people, why would you do that? Especially when I talk to ladies from Nigeria or Africa, sometimes they tell me, oh, because you are in abroad, that's why you think, it's not like that here. I said to them, no, that's not how it is anywhere. It's what you accept. That is what works for you. Now, that makes me to, begin to think, how do people get into these relationships in the first place? Now, one of the things about marriage is agreement. And you and I also understand that even in business, even in ordinary business relationships, even in things that are superficial, there are usually agreements that you two decide to commit to. Now, oftentimes, many people skip this very essential part, which is the thing that makes a marriage, which is what marriage is. So many people skip the agreement stage of their marriage. When I say agreement, what do I mean? It could be promise. It could be what you promise. It could be, you know, what do you promise your spouse? You know, now I'm not saying for the women, or I'm not saying for the men. Now I'm saying both parties in any marriage. For it to be a marriage, there has to be agreement on both, you know, from both parties in that marriage. And this agreement that you are going to commit to is usually, you know, a heart-to-heart stuff. It happens behind closed doors. This agreement is between you and your spouse, between the man and the woman, between the woman and the man. It's not between the communities. It's not between your families. It's between the two of you. Your families are only witnesses. You only get to your families when you are ready, when you want them to be part of that agreement, for them to be like witness, for them to rejoice with you that you have come to, you know, terms of your relationship, what you want to commit to. Now, every marriage is different, regardless of culture. There are no two marriages that are the same thing, and that is why it's very important that, you know, you are aware of what you're stepping into. Now, what do I call this? What is this commitment or this contract or agreement? Now, before you pronounce yourselves husband and wife, now this one is for people who are not yet married. But if you're also married, it's still not yet, it's still not late. You can still come back now and make that promise to each other. Now, this promise is not the one you say in the church, because what you say in the church is a copy and paste, a traditional thing everybody says, for better, for worse, which I'm also going to touch what is for better, for worse. Now, this promise or this agreement or contract that you are going to commit to is one that you two make from the bottom of your heart, between yourselves, when no one is looking, even before you publicly pronounce yourselves husband and wife, or even before you propose. That is why, also, this brings me to this one now. That is why I hate so much I hate so much of public what's it called, public proposal, marriage proposal, because oftentimes it distracts from the, you know, the substance of the marriage. It distracts from, because sometimes when I see women or people, when somebody proposes to you, you are so excited, you are so shocked and all that. I say, have you not been discussing it? Why you could be excited and happy, but you are not supposed to be shocked that the man you are marrying to is proposing to you. You should have had an idea, or in fact, you two must have privately proposed to each other. Then you can include other people outside. This is me. This is my opinion. I don't know. Like I said, every marriage is different. Now, let me get to the point of the agreement. I can see Nena. Okay, Nena, thanks for, you know, tuning in. If you have anything to add, drop me a message so that I can include it. Thank you. I can't see many people. I can't see everybody, but if I see you, I will give you a shout out. Oh, Sister Iloba, my matron. Oh, my sister Patience Iloba, my able matron from Havana Hospital. Thank you so much. Yeah. So, hi, thank you. So, what I'm saying is this. Now, what is this contract? What is this agreement? What is this promise you make in marriage? Now, before, when you meet a man or a woman, your spouse, that's the person you want to live your complete life with, you open up to each other. Now, this is a point where many people skip, hoping that, you know, they can dabble around it. Before you marry a person, you need to get to know who this person is. It doesn't matter how long you date this person. Sometimes people think dating somebody for 10 years is a guarantee that you're going to have a good marriage. No. What I mean by getting to know the person you're marrying is communication. Be able to tell this person your history, who you are, and make sure that this person is open enough to tell you his or her own history, the good, the bad, the ugly. Nobody's perfect. Therefore, it's essential that you let the person you're going to marry to know, even, most importantly, your flaws, your negative sides, the things that you know or you think could put people away, put people off. For example, if you have anger issues, if you react, if you flare up easily, you should tell your spouse on time that, see, this is how I react when I get angry. These are the kind of things that get me angry. Let your spouse know on time so that they will know if they can cope with this. Now, if you have, the areas of your weaknesses, let your spouse know on time, up front. Because I say this because if you have because the contract of marriage is for better, for worse. Now, what is this for better, for worse? Like I said earlier, so when you hide something that could jeopardize an agreement, even in business, it nullifies that agreement. Therefore, if, for example, I have an underlying illness, let's say, for example, you have what will I call it? What will I say? You have any kind of, let's say, any illness, and you did not disclose it to your spouse, and he or she later finds out, that could nullify that marriage, even though you guys might continue to live together. But for the fact that you did not disclose what you already know about yourself, it could become an issue. You might see that marriage struggling throughout the time. So the point I'm trying to make here is, before you agree to marry, make sure that your spouse knows of your your negative sides, know of your flaws, know of your the hi Tunde Bella. Tunde, hi, thank you for tuning in. If you have anything to say, just please let me know. And if you agree with me, also let me know. If you don't agree with me, I would like to know your own side of this whole thing. So for better, for worse, sometimes people bring in things that they already know exist in their lives, and expecting their spouse to accept it as part of better, for worse. That is not true. Also, people within their marriage, they begin to do things that, they choose to do things, and then they term it for better, for worse. Let's say, for example, if a man or a woman begins to become a drunk or start doing drugs, that is not for better, for worse. That is your choice. That is a choice that you make. What is better, for worse is the accidental things that could happen within the marriage. You might fall sick, you might lose your job, you might lose some things, and things might go bad, not circumstances beyond your control. That is what better, for worse. Not when you purposely make a decision or purposely try to deceive who you marry and you call it better, for worse. That is not better, for worse. So that is very important, that when you're marrying somebody, you make a commitment, you make a promise, because it is that promise that you will make that will sustain your marriage. For example, I don't want to use my personal story so that it doesn't look like too personal. So, but what I'm trying to say here is this. Now, for example, when you and your husband, or you and your wife, your spouse, could agree that when I'm angry, these are the things that you can tell me to remind me. Remind me of what I promised you. Remind me of what I said. Or when the other person is going astray, you remind the person, this is the point of our agreement. So, but if you don't have anything to hold your spouse accountable to, then it becomes difficult. you find out that throughout the marriage there is no parameter, there is no there is no measurement. You cannot account for there's no accountability. That is why a man will go out and start sleeping around in a marriage. And when a woman and a man agree to marry, you people have decided to lock your life together. So, and sometimes people use all these ambiguous words, or say I love you, I will love. That is so ambiguous. What do you mean? Clarify that. And if you also say you love somebody, when you tell your spouse that you love the person, or you're gonna love the person or be loyal, or you need to be able to ask your spouse to define what they mean. What do you mean? What extent? What is is expected in this promise that you make? In that way, you guys can always be able to manage your expectations, manage your commitment, and be able to keep going through the marriage. So that is that for the promise agreement, or call it contract or covenant. Thank you for helping me out. Covenant. I think that's the right word, covenant, because marriage is a covenant. So on your covenant, when you're having that covenant, and I'm not talking of wedding, I'm talking of marriage covenant, the one that when two of you decide to marry, what covenant did you agree to? What is your covenant? So that is very important. Now, if you're already married and you can't remember, there's no word or no specific promise you can remember that made up your covenant with your husband or your wife. This lockdown is kind of a blessing in disguise, opportunity for you guys to now be together and be able to review and revisit, even renew your marriages. Because for us here in Europe and abroad and all that, sometimes it's so difficult to see husband and wife families come together, sit down together, or most of the times, talk less of coming to start thinking of romance and all those kind of things. So that is why now you have to make better use of this lockdown. Revisit your marriage and check between you and your husband or your wife to know what is the basis of our covenant. What did we agree on? So that you people, yes, bonding, Emeka, my better man, my better half, he so he's telling me bonding. So this opportunity for you two people to bond. And yes, bonding, and that brings me to the next point. The next point is the one that is dreaded. Nobody wants to talk about that. Meanwhile, this is one of the most important aspects of marriage, and that is sex. In our culture, in Nigerian African culture, is believed that women don't like sex. So many men, so many Nigerian men, I don't know about other people, but so many Nigerian men believe that women don't like sex. Or when a woman demands sex, then they feel the woman is wayward. That is not true. The same way, as a man, biologically, you are triggered, you have hormones. That's the same way a woman has hormones. What has happened is that culturally, the society has suppressed the woman. So most of the times, women pretend. And this is where it gets interesting, because sometimes we see or we hear about a woman who has been married, and then all of a sudden her children are not the man's children. Then people show a lot of surprise, and people go like, oh my God, how can a woman do that? Yes, a woman does that. So the same way a man could go out and be wayward, it's the same way a woman can go out and be wayward. So that is why it's important that both of you, both the husband and wife, are there to satisfy each other's needs. Most men, 80% of men, let me use, that is my own statistics, there is no scientific evidence, but my empirical reasoning from my empirical reason, I will say that up to 80% of African men find it difficult to satisfy their wives sexually. And that can also be reversed for the men. Oftentimes the men don't get the sexual satisfaction they need from their wives. Therefore, some of them, jump out and all that. But let me talk about for the women, because in our society, that is the men one. Most men don't believe, even in boyfriend, girlfriend, boys, men, they don't believe that a woman, enjoys or likes sex the same way men like and need it. Every human being does. Now, so what happens is, it is how you handle your woman that will, that will encourage her, because of our society, will encourage her to be able to open up to you and let you know when she's satisfied or when she's not. So most times, so many women, after making love or whatever with their husband, you see them jump out. And sometimes men believe or feel that women don't get tired, or they just don't like it, because one, is it that the woman is not bold enough or is not comfortable enough to tell you that she is not satisfied, or she doesn't feel loved, she doesn't, in fact, the most important thing is that she doesn't feel comfortable enough, she cannot confide in you. Therefore, the guy, if you like, say I love you 50 million times, it does not mean anything to her. Also, a woman might not want sex because she has been overworked. I see many times, this woman walks like a horse, walk like, like a jockey and everything. And then her tired body, she wants to rest. And then from nowhere, a man who has not shown her any affection, has not shown her has not been part of the family, from nowhere jumps in. She's not gonna, she just stays there like a log of wood. So sexual relationship in a marriage goes beyond just having sex. It's about the whole package. It's about the whole romance in the marriage, the communication, the approach, the helping each other and protecting and pampering each other.
The trust.
And it also has to do with the trust. Now, most times women, when a woman does not trust you, or when a woman does not feel loved, it's hard to get her turned on. So if you take a long time for you to get your wife turned on for you, then you have to go back and read your scripts and check yourself, review yourself and say, where am I getting it wrong? Try to communicate with her, try to get her, open her mind again to you. She might say, oh, I love you, baby, this, but her body, the way her body responds to you will tell you exactly what you need to know. So when your wife body is not opening up, is not, I don't know what, is not responding to your, to your approach and everything, then you have to know that there's something going on. One, is it that she's not in love with you? She's just managing for whatever reason, or you are overworking her, or you are maltreating her, or she sees herself as the other woman in the house. So there are so many factors that make a woman not to suppress her feelings towards the husband. When a woman is in love and is in a relationship where she's well loved and pampered and all that, her body is always ready for the husband. So I don't want to go further. I don't know. So this is just one of the tips I want to give, because I was following this debate and argument on Twitter. I usually follow a lot of, especially Nigeria young people banter and all that. So some of the things that they say, it gets to me. I tell myself, I say, so this younger generation are still following the backwards, archaic, things that our great grandfathers did. We need to be correcting this thing. A woman has exactly the same feeling as a man, and there's no reason to excuse a man who is sleeping around in a marriage. No reason at all, except if you two decide to have an open marriage. Now, you cannot on one hand say you love somebody, and on the other hand you're exposing the person to all manners of diseases and infection. Now, as a man, if you love yourself, in fact, the point is, if you but the moment you realize that your spouse is the same as you, that is when you just have to advise yourself. So if you cannot hold yourself together and stay in this marriage commitment with one woman or man, then you are not in marriage, and you cannot claim that you love anybody. Because when you love somebody and join your body with that person, you guys become one. Therefore, when you're sleeping around, you're exposing both yourself and the person you say you love, and even your children, to all manners of problems, infections like HIV, STDs, even death. Most men die before their time because of how they made their bed at home. Most men, I'm going to say this again, most men die before their time because of how they kept their home. How you treat your wife reflects on how she manages the home. So if you're going about cheating on your wife, know that you are setting up your own death trap. You're about to die before your time. You might think you want to, the woman, you are cheating the woman, or that she will get the infection and all that, both of you and stuff, that she might die, but you know that you have ruined yourself. That is what many people don't know. So once you are in a marriage, what you do has direct consequences to both your spouse and yourself, and in fact to your children. So I want as many men as possible to now know that it's not a matter of bravado. It's not a matter of show of strength. It's not a show of strength to be cheating on your wife. If you don't love a woman, or if you don't love a man anymore enough that you will commit to your agreement with that person, then quit. I'm not somebody who advocates for divorce and all that, but when a marriage poses danger to your life, the best thing to do is to quit. Leave the marriage. If you believe your husband or your wife is sleeping around, it's not a matter of, oh, you are so jealous. That is not what it is. What I'm talking about here is you are exposing yourself, both spiritually, both physically. You're exposing yourself to danger that could affect and ruin your life. So as a wife, if you find out that your husband is sleeping around, you have to find your way out. And as a man, if you find out that your wife is sleeping around, find your way out. Even the Bible tells you, for those who are Christians, the Bible tells you that the only grounds to divorce your wife is infidelity. And also, if a man or a woman you find out wants to kill you in a marriage, it's also better for you to leave. So in essence, what I'm trying to say is this: in marriage, that covenant that you have includes, making life easier and better. Do everything in your power to protect each other. When you are sleeping outside, you are not protecting your family. You're not protecting your spouse. You're not protecting your husband. You're not protecting your wife. and you're not protecting your children. If you decide to become lazy, you don't want to work, you don't want to make sure that there's food and everything, you're not protecting your wife, you're not protecting your children, and you're not protecting your husband. And therefore, you are also setting trap for your own death. Now, if you're somebody who, one of the ones that women do a lot is they keep on stealing, hiding, and taking their things to build their own their parents' family or their own brothers and sisters. Now, once you are married as a woman, your husband comes first. And that the same applies to the man. Once you're married, your wife comes first. You have formed your own family. That's why now I'm saying the Bible again. I'm not a pastor, but see, the Bible tells you that the man must leave the mother and father and cling onto his wife. So when you cling, now sometimes the Bible says something, doesn't go further to say the other way. So that means the Bible is just saying that two of you will cling together and become one. And when you have become one, both of you become a priority to each of yourselves. It's no longer your mom or dad. On both sides, it's no longer your brothers and sisters. On both sides, it's not only for the man, it's not only for the woman. So this is where people get it wrong all the time. You see somebody, a woman who is married, her priority is to make sure that her brothers succeed, so that she can have people who will come and fight the husband. What nonsense! Why are you in that marriage? The same thing happens with the man. You see some men, they will be the wife. Probably she doesn't even have clothes for going out. She doesn't have anything. But their priority is they want to buy for their brothers. They want to buy for their mom. Once you treat your wife well, except where the woman is a wicked one, if you treat your wife well, you won't even know when she will take care of your parents and your family. The same way, if you love and cherish your husband and treat him well, you will not even know when he will go extra mile taking care of your family. So in essence, when you take care of your spouse, your husband or your wife, you are directly or indirectly taking care of your families that you are thinking about. So there's no need cheating your wife or your husband. There's no need stealing from your family, your own direct family, the money you're saving to train your children and build your family. You're stealing it to go and build the extended family. So I don't know, it's up to you. If you're not yet married, you decide how you want your marriage to be. If you're already married, there is still so much time for you to revisit yourself and ask yourself, why did I marry this person? Why am I in this marriage? Why did I marry this man? Yes, Nenna says, how you treat your wife determines how she handles the marriage. So true. A friend once said, a woman is like an incubator. She reverts what you put into her at a bigger level. Yes, that is true. And that is also true for the man. A man who feels loved, honored, and cherished, is always running home. He's always doing extra. If, he's always pampering the wife. Except whether the man or the woman, is just evil. And then if you find that your husband or wife is evil, just pack your life and leave before it's too late. So once you take care of your husband as you should, love, cherish, respect, and submit to him and his again, submit is another word, a subjective word that I would have loved to treat, but time is, it's not on our side. So what I'm trying to say is, if you treat your spouse as you should, then you see them go extra miles, trying to, doing their best to make sure that you have the best out of them, best you can get from them. So, so go home today, use this lockdown to solidify your relationship, to solidify your, your marriage, to make your marriage enviable, to make your home where you come home and be happy. So many people are discovering now, you don't have any other place to go. except, you know, some people are stuck at home. For me, I'm not stuck at home. In fact, I'm on holidays. I take it that I feel like somebody who traveled on holidays because I'm happy in my home. So if you're not happy in your home, you'll be feeling stuck in that home. So this is a time for you, man, woman. There's no need to be making trouble in your marriage. If you want to be happy, you live a long life, prosperity. If you guys haven't made money now, if you're happy, the money will come when you put your heads together, because even the Bible, if you're a Christian, tells you that where two or more, once two, that's a husband and wife, once you people come together and agree on something, it is going to, you know, it is going to produce the best result. That is what the Bible promises us. So why would two people be in marriage and nothing is working for them? Big question. That's where I ended today. If you have any question, if you have anything to add, if there's any topic you want me to talk about, please feel free to get in touch. Thank you so much once again. It's me again, Faustina Anyanwu. I'm not perfect. I don't expect you to be perfect, but I expect you to keep trying. Thank you.